Hello and welcome to this week's episode of War Eagle Weekly. How we doing, Josh?
I am doing good, man. I'm just ready to talk some ball.
Dude, we got a lot. For it being the off season, there was a lot of topics that you and I wanted to talk about this week, and
Yes.
we're gonna have a lot to fill our time. So let's just jump right on in it, and let's talk about the transfer portal for the football team. We ended up getting a commitment from a Ronan Chambers,
Yes.
coming out of Akron. We actually played this guy a couple years ago.
Uh, I mean, he's not the biggest portal get we've ever gotten. It kind of like I agree for with Locked on Auburn about it didn't make sense on his end, in my opinion, for playing time.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
know I know Hugh Freeze likes to have 16 offensive linemen on roster, and he would be the 16th one. So, in that sense, it would make sense.
Yeah, no, I think it makes perfect sense for Auburn. I'm of the camp that hey, our even if he's our worst offensive lineman, um, we still have him. And a couple of years ago, we would have been begging for this guy. Like they joked about, they would have done an entire week's worth of episodes about how this guy is going to turn around Auburn football. So I'm totally okay with it. I mean, he's got the typical size of a tackle, 6'6", 285 pounds. I mean, you really couldn't ask for much more on the size front. So, maybe this coaching staff sees a diamond in the rough, and maybe he actually contributes this year. But either way, it's a good get. It helps
I mean,
our
Kieran
our.
Diamond in the roughs, though, you're going to expect more than one season out of him, and this guy only has 1 year
You
of
would think.
eligibility left. So I can't imagine there being any sort of diamond in the rough associated with him. In my opinion, no offense to him, it's just who's he going to play for when someone gets hurt? We're so deep at offensive line. He's got to be the low man on the totem pole, in my opinion.
Well, I think he would start over some of the freshmen. Um, if things came to it. So I'm okay with it. He started 12 games last year. He's played multiple positions across the line, which that helps at every level of football, really. So 724 snaps, graded out at a 58.0 by Power Football Focus. So all in all, I mean, he's an okay
Yeah, like you
get.
said, he's got the size. Just I just don't know where he's going to fit in when it comes to playing time. I'd assume he get a lot of playing time on special teams,
Yeah,
but
he very
other
well
than
could.
that,
Hey, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it.
yeah,
So,
like, depth is depth.
either way, it's a get. We gained someone. We didn't lose anyone. So,
That's true.
hey, it's a positive. So, but let's move right along. Speaking of players committing to Auburn, this last week, Hugh Freeze actually made some news that I just don't get why nobody is talking about this because I've brought it up a couple of times
It
how
makes perfect
the
sense.
the best way to help some stability among college teams is to sign contracts, whether
Yeah.
that be a 1 year or more. I'm going to read the quote from Hugh Freeze. He was talking to reporters on Wednesday of this week. You need to bring it to campus and sign them to a contract, just like I signed a contract. If they want a 1 year contract, great. If they want a 2 year contract, great. But once you sign it, just like if I leave Auburn, somebody's got to pay Auburn money. And it should be the same way, in my opinion. I think that would bring a lot more sanity to it. And I think sanity is the key word there because these coaches have got to be pulling their heads out. We talked about it a few episodes ago. The Alabama offensive lineman who transferred to Iowa was there for the spring and said, "Screw this, I'm going back to Alabama." And then we gained Isaiah Rakes from USC who was there
Hmm.
for the spring. And so I yes, we gained something getting Rakes because I'm high on him. I think he's going to be great for this team. But at the same time, I'm just like, come on, you gotta have some commitment. You gotta be like freaking oh my gosh, Camden Brown, and just be,
Yeah, right.
just stick to
No
it,
kidding.
put in the hard work.
There's got to be some accountability on the end of the players at that point, especially when there's this much money involved. I agree with you, Freeze.
Yeah.
It would bring a lot of stability to the transfer portal, a lot more understanding for the coaches and players on what is expected of them when they commit to that school, and the monetization that they're getting from the sponsors in the school. So it's a really good, simple, short term fix, if not long term fix. It's just like the article said. At this point, it would have to come from Congress, not the NCAA. So there's a lot of hoops
Yeah.
that would have to be jumped through to get that in place. But I really think it's a really good start, somewhere to build a foundation upon.
And I don't even think there's that many hoops. I mean, Congress has intervened in college athletics frequently lately. This whole NIL thing was spearheaded because of Congress. So,
Yeah, it's just
you
whenever
know,
money's involved, there's going to be multiple hoops to jump through whenever there's large sums of money
that's
involved to
fair.
these kids.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And but the thing is I just, oh man, I am just all for the idea of signing a contract. Stay with the team at least 1 year, unless maybe build in some verbiage for promises. If you promise this guy, and you break that promise, then maybe he gets out of it. Or if
Yeah,
there is a mutual parting of the ways and both parties agree, hey, this isn't going to work out. Okay, yeah, maybe at that point. But the national letter of intent, for high schoolers coming was a big thing, and it meant something just a few years ago, and now it means jack diddly squat.
oh, yeah, because
And
there's large sums of money involved.
yeah,
Whoever has
yeah,
got the biggest bags is going to get the services of that player.
which I'm all for. I really am, but you got to have some commitment from these players, because we've already seen how there are people that are trying to poach cornerbacks from Tulsa and try to entice Janai Broom to go to their school. So what's to stop us in the winter portal back in December bringing in a transfer guy saying, hey, we'll give you this, and then Georgia saying, oh, you know what, in our spring game, our star defensive back got hurt. We'll give whoever X amount of money. We have all this money here. Come here. What's to stop that from happening? It's not like they necessarily. And the thing is, they don't even have to really tamper. I've wondered why people haven't done this. A team just put out a press release. In search of make it
Just put a
make it
an
a
ad on
freaking
Indeed.
classifieds. Yeah. I mean, that's technically
low.
wouldn't be tampering, right?
I mean, it's a form of tampering. I don't know if it would fall in the purview of NCAA guidelines, but still, it's tampering nonetheless.
I think it's shady. It's shady, but not tampering, in my opinion.
Well,
So,
the way I see it is, if you wouldn't do it in front of God, you shouldn't do it to anybody else.
and you know what? I'm a God fearing man, but I feel like that's well within the rules and well within my right to do so, to put out a help wanted ad.
So
Um,
you would try to poach Michael from God? Is that what you're saying, Cameron?
no, I did not say that.
Well, that's like I'm
I
saying.
don't.
If you wouldn't do it in
I
front
don't.
of God, you shouldn't do it at all. I wouldn't try to do that with Michael. Hell no.
But that would just mean that I would have to
Cameron, you're
need
getting off topic
that.
here.
I know. No, you are, sir. But either way, Hugh Freeze has a great point, and I don't understand why it's not a topic that's being brought up amongst a lot of coaches. Why isn't Nick Saban coming out saying something about this now that he's not coaching?
Because he
and
still
he's
wants the
in
backdoor
the
deals.
media. I don't know. It just makes more sense to me. I bring some sanity to the college game, because
Yes.
I think fans are quickly getting tired of the transfer portal, and the thing is it is ultimately a good thing, because it helps those teams in need, and it helps those players at lower
Get
levels
better
move up,
opportunities.
or to get out of to get out of a bad situation.
We're not
And
talking
so
about you, Aiden Holloway. We're talking about other worthy players.
Yeah, well, we'll get to Aiden Holloway a little bit later in this episode because he is going to get brought up, listeners. I don't know if our regulars quite understand my level of pettiness that I have towards people that screw me over or screw over my teams. So we'll definitely get to Aiden Holloway. But last week, anything else on this topic, Josh, that you wanted to talk about, or are you comfortable
No,
moving on?
I agree though.
Okay.
It would bring stability and, like you said, sanity and a little more clarity to the transfer portal for these coaches that are still learning it and these players that are obviously still learning it as well. It'd be a very good
Yeah.
stepping stone to a better NIL future.
Yep. Perfect. Well, so last week we went over our hopeful depth chart. On the offensive side, we had a couple of disagreements, but for the most part, we were on the same page. For those that want to go back and listen to last week's episode, you'll hear the asinine comments from Josh about Cam Coleman not being worthy of starting at wide receiver for Auburn, and just the most
I
ridiculous thing
never
ever.
said
But
that either.
this week, I think we're going to have a lot more um, continuity,
Agreements.
and we're definitely going to agree a lot more than what we did last week. So let's kick this off, Josh. Go ahead and start with your depth chart at defensive end, and I'll let you know if I disagree, or we'll go from there.
Well, I think this is obvious to anybody that's followed Auburn football for at least the last year. Keldrick Falk is obviously going to be the first guy off the sidelines to be defensive
Yeah.
end. Um, I kind of teetered back and forth on who would get that second call between Amaris Williams and Darren Reed Jr. I want to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Darren Reed would get the call sooner than Amaris would, but Amaris is so damn talented. It's going to be really hard
Yeah.
to keep him off the field. And we all know how talented Darren Reed is, or how good he could be. He hasn't really shown it on the
Mm-hmm.
field yet. So I'm kind of teetering on those two being, let's call them 2A and 2B. And then rounding out defensive end would be TJ Lindsey, the true freshman.
Yeah. I agree with you on Amaris Williams. Is it Amaris or Amaris? It's Amaris.
Amaris, yeah. He's
Amaris.
very
I,
vocal about that.
right. Yeah. That's right. Um, I agree with him. There's just too much talent there. It's kind of like Keldrick Falk last year. We couldn't keep him off the field. Yeah, he wasn't gonna blow. He wasn't blowing us away in each games, but there were sparks.
Yes.
And I think Williams is the same way. You just can't keep him off of the field. And just to reassure our viewers, there is a difference between defensive end and buck within this defensive scheme. So we will get to the other, technically defensive end
It's not a biggest
position.
difference, but there is a difference.
Right. Yep. Yep. So I'm gonna take us down to defensive tackle. This one it may surprise some people, but I get the feeling that you might be close on this one, Josh. But like I previously stated earlier in the episode, I am high on Isaiah Rakes. So I got Isaiah Rakes as my number one defensive tackle. Then Jason Jones, Trill Carter, Gage Keys, Philip Bleedy, Zakevius Walker, and Malik Blockton. The only reason why I have Malik Blockton down that far is he's a true freshman, and he looks really good in the spring, but freshman linemen just do not translate well, and so I
Unless
think
your
he
name is
will play.
Montrevious Adams.
Yeah. I think he'll play, but I don't know if he's going to have that huge of an impact as we might hope he has. Plus, there's tons of more seniority ahead of him on the field. You have any disagreements in this order?
Um, just in the first two with Isaiah Rakes and Jason Jones. I
Yeah.
mean, a big selling point for Jason Jones to come back instead of going into the portal or the draft or anything else was that he was going to be their guy. He was going to be their seniority guy on the defense. He was going to be the quarterback of the defensive line. And I understand how talented Isaiah Rakes is. Jason Jones is
Mm-hmm.
going to now be under year two in on Hugh Freeze's team different coordinators, obviously, but
Yeah,
still,
yeah,
it's going to be really hard to try to tell Jason Jones he's now the number two option at defensive tackle behind a guy that transferred in from the West Coast. So, I mean, other than that, I feel like the defensive tackles they kind of
yeah.
speak for themselves with talent and experience. So I would really put Jason Jones at DT1 and
And,
then Isaiah Rakes.
and you know what? I mean, it's all valid points, and I'm not like so high on Riggs that I think you're absolutely ridiculous here. And so I could be talked into Jason Jones, and I think you make great points on that. You want to take us off with our buck position?
Yeah.
The
Um,
biggest surprise of this depth chart today, guys.
biggest one. No one's seen this coming at all. At buck number one, surprise, surprise, is Jalen McLeod. I mean, the dude's a
Yep.
baller. The dude knows how to get to the quarterback. If he stayed healthy last year, he would have been way bigger and have a way deeper stat sheet. But then obviously he got hurt and was, you know, not on the field as much as we wanted him to. Behind
Right.
him, there's is it Kieron or Kayron? I want to say Kieron.
I think I like Keyron better.
Kieron. Okay, we'll go Kayron Crawford, Jamonta, Jamonta Waller, and then Joe Phillips rounding it out with the two freshmen.
I think you're
I
I think you're right on by going opposite of what I think. So I can't fault you with that.
we're double covered.
Yep, there you go. There you go. Yeah, no, I you can't argue with that. Hugh Freeze himself even said it in the spring game. Was talking about he's like I don't even know why McLeod's out there. He's like
We know what he
we
can
already
do.
know what he can do. Yeah, and he goes and blows up the play right away. So so yeah, no, I don't think there's any argument there, and I think Keyron Crawford is he's going to be he might honestly be one of the fan favorites this year. I'm drinking the Zach Blackerby Kool Aid, man. I really am.
The dude's impressive. He's an impressive specimen, that's for sure.
Right, right. So, moving on along. Like I said, people, we got a lot to talk about, and so we are just busting through these notes. Outside linebacker, I got Eugene Asante. No surprise here. The dude was a baller last year. Probably one of our, easily our top three defender. He could have very well been our best defender last year, outside of Jalen Simpson, maybe. Um, there could be an argument there. But Eugene Asante, Robert Woodyard, Demarcus Riddick, and then DJ Barber rounding out. I think you all are going to start seeing a little bit of a trend on our depth chart with freshmen rounding it out. Yes, we're very excited about these these freshmen, but the coaching staff has just done a phenomenal job in those positions that we have contributing, rounding out freshmen. They brought in some seniority and some upperclassmen leadership to really help them out and bring them along. And so we're going to see these players, but we just don't have to rely on them like we did. Demarcus Riddick, he very well could be the number two by the end of the year, just because of everything we've heard about him since the bowl practice. But I feel pretty good about this lineup here.
I would agree with you in that order specifically. I do believe that Demarcus Riddick could have roles in the outside linebacker position and the middle linebacker position. It all determines on how well he's able to read the offenses before the ball is snapped, because we all know how pivotal the middle linebacker position is. I mean, Josh Bynes set a standard here at Auburn. And when it comes to middle linebackers, that's the scale I use. I want them to be just like Josh Bynes in reading the
That's fair.
offense and knowing what's coming. Um, but
Well,
Eugene
Josh Bynes
Asante,
was also a middle linebacker, different responsibilities, but
I know
I get
that's
where
what I
you're
was
coming
saying.
from.
He can play both
Yeah, yeah.
depending on whether or not he can read an offense. Um, one guy I really just want nothing more in this world to get a hold of things would be Robert Woodyard. Dude was a highly
Mm-hmm.
rated 4-star recruit out of high school. He just never got the grasp of college defenses for whatever reason. It
Yeah,
could have been, Brian Harson just fumbling everything and his staff. Could have been him
probably
just
was.
not understanding Robert's defense last year. I don't know. Hopefully, everything's more simplified this year with Charles Kelly coming in and his name escapes me.
Durkin.
Yeah, Durkin, DJ Durkin. DJ Durkin is a linebacker guru, so I'm hoping he can
Yeah.
work wonders with Robert Woodyard. So, but more or less, I would agree 100% on the outside linebacker depth chart that I would expect to see come out on the field.
Yep. And you know what? Here the thing is I kind of see Demarcus Riddick as a special team ace. He's going to
Yes.
make plays on special teams where you're just going to be like, "Holy shit, this guy." And he reminds me a lot different players, but the kind of impact I think he can have on special teams reminds me a lot of the linebacker for Alabama, degenerate. What was his name?
Aren't they all?
No, they're not all, dude. I'm a New England fan, so I have my soft
I
spot for
forgot you're a
Dante
Mac
Hightower.
Jones.
No, Dante Hightower. Um, but what who he had the Auburn tattoo because
Oh,
he
Reuben
claimed because of his
Foster,
Reuben Foster.
that
Reuben Foster
bum.
was a special teams ace for 2 years there at Alabama, and I think Demarcus Riddick can have that kind of impact this year. That's just off the cuff, personally.
I agree
Josh,
with you. He's gonna make plays no matter when he's on the field. He's a special player, special teams, special plays, special players. It's bound to happen. He's gonna develop. He's a
yeah,
true freshman, young buck, and I feel like he's gonna get a hang of it a lot faster than Robert Woodyard has and did.
yeah. Yep. No, I agree. Okay, moving right along. You want to hit us up with middle linebacker?
Yep, it's a short list. We don't have too many middle linebackers on the roster. Hopefully, we get some good news in the next couple of days of a transfer. But starting off, I got Austin Keys as number one, and then Dorian Mayusi as number two.
Mm-hmm. Which I mean, the crazy thing is yeah, it's a short list, but these are two highly veteran guys that
Yes.
I don't think you could ask for better representation there at the middle linebacker spot. Plus, I mean, let's be honest, there'll probably be some moving around from different guys, and we'll see some people. And in case some of our viewers are thinking that there are more players at each position, um, ultimately, I think you and I are excluding the white guys.
The walk-ons.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I
because
couldn't tell
there's
you their names even if you asked me.
right, exactly.
I'd have to look at a computer and even be like, who the hell is this guy? No
Yeah,
offense to them. I'm
like
sure they're talented in their own ways, but
yeah, you go and
I
click on his bio, and he's like, has been at Auburn for 4 years and has contributed on special teams, and you're just like, yeah, nope, skip.
yeah.
Um,
Next.
no, can't argue with that that lineup there. Keys, he was really excited about getting Durkin in. He's played under Durkin his freshman year there at Ole Miss, so hopefully we see some magic there where he picks up on this defense really quickly, and uh, and it can be a leader on this defense. Moving on to possibly our best position out there on the defensive side, honestly. We got cornerbacks. I'm just going to rattle them off because there's a lot. And honestly, it could go either way. But KM Lee, number one for me. Antonio Kite. Now, Antonio Kite is my second because these are the two guys that I want on the outside. I'm pretty sure Keontae Scott is going to be that second outside guy. Or even that first outside guy. I don't know how the coaching staff's going to view it, but the coaching staff is they're letting him call the shot on his position this year, but this is our hopeful lineup, and so that's why I have him third here in the slot and playing off of the outside receivers because of how well he did last year. I just want to see him replicate it, and so Keontae Scott is my third. Behind him, we got Champ Anthony, who has made waves here in the spring. Tyler Scott, J.C. Hart, Jay Crawford, and Rod Elston, who I'm not even sure who he is, but I saw him on the roster, and he wasn't man, I was trying to remember what I looked up that said, oh, okay, maybe I do need to include him. He wasn't just some nobody. But I'm sure this might be one of the positions that you and I kind of have the biggest disagreements on, possibly.
I would say so. The first three, I kind of in the same boat with you. I do want to see Keontae Scott in the nickel, which is his true position. We all know what Kaden Lee can do. He looked super in the spring game. Antonio Kite is going to see the field right off the bat. Um, Here's where I differ from you.
Mm-hmm.
I would have Tyler Scott and J.C. Hart in front of Champ Anthony,
Mm.
mainly because I think those two guys are far more athletic and just a little better than Champ Anthony. I'm not saying Champ Anthony is bad. I just don't think Champ Anthony is going to see the field before Tyler Scott or J.C. Hart, but the rest of the list
It's
is
fair.
fine.
It's fair to say. I just, you hear so many good things coming out of spring practice. There's always that, that spring champion that everyone talks about, and he seemed to be the guy. So until he can prove me wrong, I kind of favor him, and I think he very well could make an impact this year.
That's
So
valid.
we'll see. Yeah.
That's valid.
Um, Rounding us out on the defensive side, Josh, go ahead and break us down with the safeties.
So these guys are 1A, 1B, and 1C for me. All three of
Yeah, they
them,
gotta be.
all three of them they could be starters
Yep.
on any SEC team out there. But 1A, I got
I
Sylvester
swapped it
Smith.
up so many times.
Same, dude. I keep going back and forth. It's Sylvester Smith has always been like the first one on the list for me, but it's always between
Yep.
Jaron Thompson and Laquan Robinson. I'm like, so that's why it's like
Yep.
1B and 1C as well. It's like those guys are just so good, every single one of them.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Laquan Robinson comes from JUCO ranks, and Jaron Thompson comes from Texas. Jaron
Yeah.
Thompson had a couple interceptions against Alabama last year, so that I'm really excited about. Um, but with those two guys, it's just you could swap either one of them, and I would
Yeah.
be 110% okay with it. Then you got Terrence Love, super talented kid. I really hope he can just come on and just bring the pain every game. Caleb Wooden, the guy that runs with potatoes in his shoes, and then Caleb Harris. I just he runs like he has mashed potatoes in his cleats. It's hard to say. The dude can ball. He's very smart.
Was was he on the team? Was he on the team when Brian Harson was here? Because that might explain
I
the
think he was a true
potatoes.
freshman.
Yeah, that might
Yeah.
explain why there's potatoes in his shoes. He just that foundation. That foundation was just set, and Harson was like, "Taters."
Yep, taters.
That's
That's
how
it.
y'all say
It
it,
could have
right?
been
Taters.
taters. But that's my list. I feel like I said, I feel like those
Yeah.
first three are super interchangeable. But ultimately, Sylvester Smith, I feel, is the most
Yeah.
talented and best safety that we got.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I got Sylvester Smith as my top one and Jaron Thompson as my second because uh, coming from Texas and the fact that he had two interceptions against top end talent at Alabama, you got to believe that he is just going to see the field a lot, and you got to put him over JUCO. No matter how
Yeah,
highly ranked Laquan Robinson is, you just you put somebody that started at Division I football on a team that went to the playoffs. You got to put that player ahead of
yeah,
the
I would
JUCO
agree.
player. So
I would agree.
yeah. Well, there is our depth chart, our hopeful depth chart. There's probably going to be some differences between the coaches and ourselves, and if there is, we promise we will straighten the coaches out the best that we can. But that's where we're at now. Now that we have finished spring and we have finished bringing in transfers for the most part, we'll probably still add a couple. Um, and because we are done with our hopeful depth charts, let's go ahead and rank the position groups 1 through 10. And let's start off with number 10 here, Josh. I'm going to go with quarterback. I don't think anybody here is going to disagree. I do know that you are a huge fan of Peyton Thorne and really just the guy could do no wrong in your eyes, and so I think that you might have a problem there. But I mean, honestly, of all the positions, quarterback is our weakest, and so that's why they're at number 10 for me.
Um, See, I'm going to disagree with you on that one. I don't have quarterback much
Surprise,
higher. Don't
surprise.
have quarterback much higher, but the 10th in number 10 for me, it would probably be defensive line, specifically in the defensive tackle position. Um,
Okay.
we're super thin there. We got some older guys that haven't got a whole lot of experience. Got some lower ranked players that came in through the portal. I do think they're highly talented. I do think that they could be a real strength for us, but as of right now, because
Yeah.
it's so thin, I would say defensive tackle would be our worst position group.
And that's fair. I have them as my next, so I have them at number 9, for all the reasons you just said. So, if you want to put them at number 10 and continue to be Peyton Thorne's champion, I'm okay with that. You can go ahead and do
You're
that
such a
and
dork,
stand your
bro.
ground. Uh, so, who is your number 9 then? Since I've already
So
given
number
mine,
nine
defensive line.
would be quarterbacks. That's where I would
Oh,
rank
there
the
you go.
quarterbacks. Yes,
Okay.
like I said, not much higher. We kind of flip flopped our positions there. Um, I do think the quarterback will be a better room this year compared to last year because we have way more and way better weapons surrounding the quarterback room,
Mm,
and a way better offensive line surrounding the quarterbacks. And so they could move up as the
I
year
hope I'm wrong.
progresses.
I
Yeah,
hope
for
we're both
sure.
wrong.
But as of right now, as it stands, I would definitely say quarterback is one of the lowest of the low on our team.
Okay. All right. And for number 8, I got the buck position. Now, it's not because of lack of talent, it's just lack of talented depth. We have, McLeod there at number 1, and then Crawford at number 2, who is, going to be a really good backup, hopefully. But after that, we're relying on unproven pieces. And so I just got to go with Buck at number 8.
I agree with you 100%, 110% on that positioning. Like you said, it's not because of lack of talent. It is lack of depth and the fact that our
Yeah.
best buck is kind of, as of right now, made of glass.
Mm.
Because I mean, his injury didn't look that bad on the field. Turned out to be way worse than we thought it was. Um, it could end up being great. Just don't know that yet. But I would definitely put
Yeah.
Buck down there at number 8.
All right. What do you got at number 7?
This is where it starts to get a little tricky
Yeah,
because now you're
I was
starting
about to
to,
say the same thing. 7 through probably 4. I feel
yeah.
like is it could be interchangeable, and you could convince me to go the other way. But what do you have at number 7?
I actually have linebackers at number 7.
Okay.
We got a
See,
lot of
there you go.
pieces there. We just have way more youth than we do experience. Obviously, you got Eugene Asante and Austin
Yeah.
Keys coming back in, but after that, it's just a portal guy and freshman, and so
Mm.
it's really hard to justify ranking them much higher than 7 because of those reasons.
And that's fair. That's a good argument, and so I can't fault you there. I disagree with it, but I can't fault you really. I got safety at number 7. Um, yeah, we
Didn't we
think.
just talk about how talented
Yep,
our safety room is?
we did. We did. But the thing is we think they're talented. They're all unproven commodities except for Jaron Thompson, who is, he's okay. So again, it's splitting hairs. But I think the positions ahead of them, in my mind, are just marginally better. And so that's why we were saying, 7 through 4 could be interchangeable. It really
Okay.
could. And so that's why I got safety. It's just because the starter in my mind, with Sylvester Smith is for the most part he's an unproven commodity, and then we have a bunch of really unproven commodities in Terrence Love, Caleb Wooden, and Caleb Harris. So
Caleb Wooden is
that's
not
kind of
unproven. Not even a little
I
bit.
think he is.
He played so good for us when he came on the field last year. So freaking good. To say he's
Well,
unproven is just blasphemy.
moving right along. Number 6 for me is wide receiver. Um, we completely turned over this room, and for me, it's one of those things where until the coaches can show me a position group in wide receiver that consistently is putting up good numbers, I'm not going to believe it, because I bought into the hype last year and it bit me in the ass just like it bit everyone else. Wide receiver, they're sitting at number 6 for me because, again, I think number 5 and 4 are just marginally better in my mind. Um, Cam Coleman is a stud. These freshmen are studs. The transfers, we just don't know what we got. We got 2 returning players in the wide receiver room. 2 returning players. That's it, which is a good thing, but it's also a bad thing. It's all unproven. We don't know how they're going to handle SEC play. We just really don't. We don't.
I think this is a hotter take than me saying Cam Coleman isn't going to be the
Oh, no,
solidified
it's not.
starter. I would
Not
say
even
so.
close.
Because at
Don't try to
6,
back yourself out of that corner,
no,
man.
no, I'm
That's not
saying,
going to
dude,
happen.
this is crazy. Because wide receiver room is leaps and bounds better than the tight end room, which is who I have at number 6. We
That's
got
fair.
one guy. We got one guy, Rivaldo Fairweather, and the rest are role players. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not talking any crap on them, but as of right now, they're a pretty weak position group because it's Rivaldo Fairweather, Rico Walker, and then role players.
Yeah, see, and I think so highly of Rivaldo Fairweather that the others don't bring him down enough for me. And the role players we have, they have been on this team and they are very seasoned players. And so I like our tight end room. So
No, I'm not
we'll
saying I
get
don't
to
like
their
them.
ranking.
No,
Well,
I
again,
love the wide receiver. I
again,
love the. Everyone knows how much I love
margins.
Rivaldo Fairweather. Everybody.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's number 6 for me. And number 5 is actually safety because I feel like they're one of our
Yeah.
top 5 position groups. We got so much talent in those first 3 spots and a lot of talent in those unproven spots. It's just the first 3 guys have playing time. Caleb Wooden has playing time as well, but the other guys are like, we'll see, but they're still very
Yeah.
talented. It's really hard to justify putting safeties at number 7. I'll just say that.
Okay. Well, so I got number 5. I got linebackers because I love every single linebacker that is not white. Um, I just absolutely think that they are all studs, and DJ Durkin, we already talked about him being a linebacker guru, and so I expect big things out of this linebacker group. Keys and Asante played a lot last year, and
Yes.
they both have proven that even if it is just them out there, they're still pretty damn good, that position group. So that's why I got them at number 5. And who did you have at number? You had safeties at number 5.
Yeah, yeah,
Number 4 for me is tight end, actually.
yeah.
So for again, man, I am high on Rivaldo Fairweather and you know the the other guys, if you will, the what did you call them?
Role players.
Role players. Yeah.
That's what they're going to be.
I
That's what they are. They're role
yeah,
players.
they're gonna have a
They're
big
special
role in
teams
this team
players.
this year. Yeah.
I mean,
So
I'd agree. I think Rivaldo Fairweather is going to break every single record he set at Auburn as a tight end this year, 110%.
he very well
But
could.
it's just that one guy.
He's good.
I can't think of
He's
anything. He's
good.
very so good. I love Fairweather.
So
It's just that
good.
one guy right now, bro.
So, moving right along, Josh, who do you have at number 3?
I'm at number 4, Cameron.
Oh, number 4. My bad. My bad.
Yes,
Number 4.
number 4. I have corners. That's my number 4 spot. Yeah,
Whoa.
yeah.
Whoa. Hot take.
Corners is number 4 for me.
Oh my
I,
gosh.
they're all so friggin' talented. Every single one of them. They're gonna do a lot of good things for Auburn this year. I just think the 3 positions ahead of them have way more upside and better talent.
Oh my gosh. That is insane. I'm not even going to give you my take yet. because that is insane. That is insane.
You
Okay,
you're
go
entitled to your
on.
opinion, Cameron.
Go on to number three. Go on to
Number
number
three
three.
would be wide receiver. There'd be my number
Okay.
three position group. You just got so much talent there, Cameron. I understand we only have two returning players, but the guys that are actually still on the team and are playing for Auburn this year are way better than the guys we had last year. We had a bunch of lazy bones out there trying to catch balls and did not put any effort into anything that Peyton Thorne threw them. I'm not saying Peyton Thorne threw
Including
the
one
greatest
of the
ball.
two that are returning.
Yes, including Caleb Burton and Camden Brown. They just didn't put any effort, and everything. All the videos I've seen from spring and the spring game showed me that the receivers are actually, giving it
Mm.
110% on the field this year. That room is just so hard to keep out of the top three. It's such a good
There,
room.
there is a 3 position group gap between our wide receiver rooms,
It's
apparently.
okay to be wrong, Cameron. You just have to admit it.
Uh, okay, I will. If it happens, I will. Number three, I got offensive line. Um, they did damn good last year. I was so happy with them, and it may just be uh, early on when our brother Brandon was still doing it. He was talking about how bad the offensive line was, and I told him that I think he just has PTSD from how bad our offensive lines have been in the past. And
We
so
all
I
do,
don't know
dude.
if there's a little bit of that's blinding me to how good they were last year, but they were amazing last year, and they have certainly improved the position group. And I think their home run addition was Ronan Chambers this year. No, I'm joking.
The glaze.
But I think that they made great additions to this room this year that are going to just make us even that much better. Connor Lewis is just a superstar in the
So
making,
good.
and I think he's only going to get better, and so that's why I got them at number three.
It just this year's offensive line class and the guys coming back and playing for us is just it's starting to feel like it's no longer a pick and pull band-aid offensive line anymore. It's
Mm-hmm.
starting to feel like this is the group that Hugh Freeze has wanted the entire time. And there's
Yep.
just some big things coming from the OL this year, dude.
Yep. Yep. Number two for me, cornerbacks. I had to fight the urge to put them at number one. I seriously sat here for I don't know how long in ranking these position groups, and I almost put them at number one
Wow.
because of Keontae Sott, because of Kite, and because of Kay and Lee. Um, Cornerback has been our best position at Auburn since 2016, 2017. Consistently, they have been
I
our
would
best
agree.
position group
They've been very
for
good.
going on almost a decade now. So these guys are just going to carry on that tradition. I got them at number two, and I could not disagree more with you for having them at what, number five? You said
Number
you had them at
four.
number five.
Number
Number
four.
four. Yeah.
Safety
See,
was
they're
five.
worlds apart. Worlds apart.
I mean, again, I don't think they're not talented at all. I just think the groups I have ahead of them are more talented. I happen to think that Kay Lee is the next Pat Surtain in the SEC. I think he's just so good. I'm a Broncos fan, so I love Pat Surtain, and I see Pat Surtain in Kay Lee, and I can't wait for him to develop even more than he already has. But at number two, I actually have offensive line for the reasons that I stated earlier. It just is starting to feel like the Hugh Freeze offensive line that he's wanted ever since he started with Auburn. And
Excuse me.
that group is just so damn good. It's so huge. We got some
Yeah.
friggin' beasts out there. We got Too Tall. We got holy crap, what's his name? The dude from Mississippi State,
Lineman
Percy
from
Lewis. Percy
Mississippi,
Lewis.
Percy Lewis. Yep.
He's like I didn't know humans could get that big. He's a
Yeah.
massive guy, and he says he rides motorcycles all the time. Could you imagine seeing him on a motorcycle? Yeah, Hugh Freeze told him, "He's like, dude,
Jeez.
you can't be riding this stuff anymore." And
It's like
and he and
a
he
freaking
told
bowling ball.
he told Hugh, he's like, I've done more, I've done scarier things, I've done worse things, and he was like, yeah, well, you can't do that no more. And it's just this offensive line, I feel, is going to be a huge piece for Auburn this year, and it sounds like we're going to agree with number one.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
going to be
Number
running
one,
backs. That's our most
running
proven,
back,
most
y'all.
talented position group that we
Yeah.
have on the roster.
Yeah, no, it is. Again, I flirted with the idea of putting cornerback there, but you just cannot argue with just. I mean, if our first two running backs went down, I would be totally okay with running Cobb and Batty out there and having a decent two deep. We might have the four best running backs in the SEC
Oh, I
combined.
110% agree. Oh, absolutely.
I
There's just
think
no doubt
I
about it.
think I think there are top end talented running backs that are probably better than Hunter, but there's not too many of them. I don't think.
He's probably the best three down back in the SEC.
Yeah, no,
Probably
I
the
would
best
agree
three
there.
down back. But
Uh,
I mean,
I think
last
that's a
year we
little
all,
bit of a homer take, but I agree.
I mean,
I,
all
I
around, like
agree.
you can
Yeah,
count on him to getting 3 to 4 yards a carry, three downs in a row. I mean, it's just he's done it. He's proven it. And we all thought that we were going to see a huge, massive drop off from running back whenever he was out for the first few games last year. Damari Alston came in and just like, nah, bro, I got this. Obviously, he needs to work on his hands a little bit, put some stickum on his gloves.
yeah,
But I mean, again, you cannot argue with the fact that the running back has and always will be Auburn's best position group.
yeah, yeah. Well, we still have quite a bit to talk about, and we're coming up on our time frame here. So we're just going to talk about our next thing on the itinerary in the basketball portal. Talk about the two players that we're starting to look at here at Auburn, and then we'll leave our last topic talking about cost of NIL players for next week. There were some sources that talked to the Athletic that broke down and listed, some amounts for players, which are quite frankly eye-opening. So stay tuned till next week. We'll talk about that. But let's talk about the basketball portal and some of the players that Auburn is targeting. The first one we got targeting right now, we've kind of struck out on the basketball portal side of things outside of
Yeah, so
JP
far.
Pegues, but again, we have retained so much talent in keeping Broom and getting Cardwell to come back, and so we, excuse me, and so it's probably hard at this point to find somebody that's willing to come in and not get 20 minutes a game. So I'm really not panicked or anything like that personally. But the first player we got at shooting guard, I know I'm going to butcher his name, and so I apologize. If you know how to pronounce his name, please drop us a comment and let us know. Wooga Poplar from Miami. He's a four-star shooting guard. He would be a senior this year. He had 13.1 points per game and 4.8 rebounds per game last year. He's being pursued by Oregon, TCU, Villanova, Louisville, Kansas, Kentucky, and Arkansas. So a lot of competition there. And personally, I just don't see why we need another shooting guard. Maybe the coaches think that he can play some point guard.
I mean, he definitely could. We need depth at shooting guard. I know that. So that would be the reasoning behind needing to get some
Well, we
because
have Pettiford and Denver Jones.
yeah, that's two. And we all know that Bruce Pearl likes to play small every now and then, and you're going to need
Mm,
some different pieces there. So he would definitely be a backup role player. Um,
yeah,
so I don't think there's anything wrong with him being a take for the basketball team at this point, especially with how many players we've had leave, how many
it's
positions of
fair.
need we've had leave or graduate. So I mean, at this point, any player that Auburn's targeting in the portal,
Yeah,
I'll trust in Bruce. He knows what he's doing. I'm not going to question the man. If he sees talent,
it's
then there's
fair.
definitely talent there.
Yeah. And moving right along, possibly the player that I am most excited for that we've targeted the entire transfer portal outside of that point guard out of Washington State. I cannot remember his name, but uh, Anchor or
Acre,
a
acre,
core
acre,
Acre.
acre. Yep.
Coming out of Samford, he's going to be a junior this year, so we got 2 years left on him. He is a four-star in the transfer portal, power forward, 6'9", 225 pounds. This is a
Big
big
guy.
dude. That is a big power forward. And this guy is a grade A stud, in my opinion. This guy screams project for Bruce Pearl. He would love to get his hands on this guy and just make him a top half NBA player in the first round. I think
I would
he
agree.
could, maybe top 20, so a little bit less than top half. But I think Bruce Pearl could do wonders with this guy. He averaged 16.1 points per game, 6.1 rebounds, 1.5 assists, shot 58.6% from field goal. Uh, so the guy is very proficient,
He also shot
and
43.5% from behind the arc, bro. I mean,
yeah,
you get that from a big, that just stretches your floor and just opens
yep,
up way more possibilities. Like anytime you got a big guy as a weapon behind the arc, it's just going to do wonders for your offense. And so it's just that guy I feel is priority numero uno for Bruce Pearl and the gang.
yeah. And we saw what he did against top end talent in
Yeah.
the game against Kansas this year in the NCAA tournament. The dude had, what was it, 23 points, played 31 minutes, was 9 for 22 on field goal. He did shoot kind of poorly from behind the arc, 2 for 6, 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 0 turnovers. Love it. And only 1 personal foul. So he played without fouling. You can't want somebody better. He's scheduled to have an official visit next week here at Auburn. I hope we get him. I hope he sees this as a 2-year stop rather than seeing who's out there this year and seeing that he's not going to get some minutes, because I think this dude could eat up some minutes and really
Yes.
could be our starter at power forward if they want to go with Janai Broom back at the 5. I love Chaney Johnson, but this Chaney Johnson is not this dude. Let's just say that.
I mean, I don't think he would start over. I think Janai Broom's true position is power forward.
I think so.
Um,
But it
and
just depends on how the coaching staff wants to
Yeah, I
use him
agree
this
that
year.
he can play multiple positions. He was a point guard in high school, for God's sake, but
Yeah.
the guy can play everywhere. Acre is just going to give us the depth that we so desperately need at the 4 and 5
Yeah.
spots. And so again,
And
this guy
our
is just
true starter next year as well.
yes, and he's just priority numero uno,
Yeah.
110%.
Yep. So, okay. Well, again, at that, we're going to leave it here. I really wanted to talk about the cost of basketball players with NIL, but we will get to that next week. So save your notes for that, Josh. It's a real exciting topic. I really, really it is. And with that and on that disappointment, War Eagle, Josh.
War Eagle, Cameron.
War Eagle, everyone. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Y'all have a good evening.
See you, man. See you later. That was a fumble.
That was a terrible ending. Just a terrible ending. And knowing Brandon, he's going to keep every second of it in.